Okay, so what we are gonna learn is polynomials first. So as you can see, the word here itself is made with two terms. One is poly, and then another is norm. So poly means many, actually, and then norm is terms actually, or numbers actually. So an expression which contains many terms would be called polynomials, and they have a very specific form. So we represent polynomial with this symbol, and then we say that this is a polynomial which is of this form: a0 plus a1x plus a2x squared plus anx to the power n. I think I have to actually take a step back before that because I don't know whether mm, we have talked about the variables and the constants and stuff. So let's talk about that and then we come here. So, so the terms which are fixed in nature is what we are calling them as constants. For example, whenever we are talking about expressions, so we'll have things like 5, 7, 10, 100, minus 100, 2 by 3, square root of 2. All these terms, all these things, all these numbers is what we call as constants. So they don't change as in like when we say that 5, so 5 remains 5, it doesn't change. Then what we do in algebra is that we introduce something called a variable, and variable is something which varies, which changes, and we represent them using the symbols x, y, z, p, w, t, whatever. And here what is happening is that if I mean for one, rather than like if I'm saying that x is 5, in one of the expression, this is what is the value x is acquiring. So x is having 5 over here. In the next statement, if I'm saying that 2x minus 1 is actually equal to 5, all that it means is that 2x is actually equal to 6 or x is 3. So x is sort of varying. One time it is acquiring a value of 5, another time it's acquiring a value 3. So this is what is the meaning of variable, generally called a polynomial. So there are many terms there. So what we are saying here is that when we are having something with one constant. This is okay. Let me first write it down everything. So this is a0, a1, a2. This is a symbol which we are introducing for the constant. So this is for constants. These are constants, and as we can understand, x is a variable. And the n is actually in this expression, n is what we call it as a non-negative integer. So only if it is a non-negative integer, then only it will be a polynomial. So if it is a fraction, then it's not a polynomial. If it is a negative integer, then it is not a polynomial. Okay. So examples would be, for example, what is the example for a polynomial? So an example of a polynomial, simple example would be say 5. I'm just saying a 5. So it's a polynomial wherein what has happened here is that if I'm comparing it with the general expression, my a1, a2, an, all these are actually 0, and my a0 is actually equal to 5. So that's what has happened here. And as I said, a0 is a constant, so there is no variable term here. And so this is what we call it as a polynomial. And later on, we will learn that this is a term, this is a polynomial, which we also call as a constant polynomial. So there is a name given to them. It is also called a constant polynomial, meaning that this polynomial contains only the constant term. They will also be called sometimes zero degree polynomial. So we will learn about what is our degree, but right now I'm just mentioning this is also called zero degree polynomial. So we'll see what is that. Now there can be another example. Say let's say I will have say 5 itself, and then say I will have 2x. Now this is also a polynomial wherein what has happened if you're comparing it with the above expression. Here a0 is actually equal to 5, a1 is actually equal to 2, and then n is actually equal to 1 is what has happened here. So this is all satisfying my condition that a0, a1, a2, n should be constants. Other one should be like a2 to an, all are zeros actually. So they are constants. N is a non-negative integer, and that satisfies my criteria. So this is also a polynomial, and this we will be calling as, again, let's say call this as the first degree polynomial. So now as we are introducing degree after degree, so let's talk about degree as well. This will be called first degree polynomial. This will also be called a linear polynomial as well. So just like constant, it will be called linear polynomial. And why it will be called an linear polynomial is also will understand. But what is the degree here? So degree is basically the highest power of the variable. So whatever with the highest power of the variable, here the highest power is 1. Here there is the highest power is 0. I mean, as in you can write 5 into x to the power 0. So that's the reason it will be called a 0 degree polynomial. Here the highest power is 1, so it will be called a first degree polynomial. Similarly, if you have got an expression which is like say 2 plus 3x plus 5x square, so this will be what we will be calling, one side will be calling it a quadratic polynomial, and then second side will be calling it as a second degree polynomial. As the degree of the, basically the highest power of the variable is 2. So highest power of the variable x is 2. Are you able to follow this? Degree polynomial it will be called. So mm, now, what is not a polynomial? So until now, so in this manner, it will keep on going quadratic to cubic. So if you will have, I mean, simply if you only have this x cube, this is also called a cubic polynomial because the highest power of this x is actually 3 here, and this will also be called a third degree polynomial. So same way, the fourth degree polynomial and the degree 100th degree polynomial. So if you want to say this term like px equals to say 5 plus 100 into x to the power 200. So it will be 200th degree polynomial it will be called because the highest power is 200th degree polynomial and so on and so forth. Okay. So we have names for uh, basically, first degree is simple name, constant polynomial. For first degree, we have a name linear polynomial. For a second degree, we have quadratic. For a third degree, we have a cubic. Fourth degree and onwards, actually, we do not have much of the names. So we actually concentrate our attention till here. Okay. So as I said, now until here we have understood what is a polynomial. So let's also understand what is not a polynomial. So if you have a expression like this, px equals to say x plus 1 by x or 2x plus 3 by x or whatever. So this is not a polynomial. And the reason here is it's not a polynomial is because here the one of the powers of x, the powers of x become negative integer. So this is actually, we can write it as 2x plus x to the power minus 1. And as we mentioned, this n has to be a non-negative integer. Now this has become a negative integer, and because of this reason, this is not a polynomial. Okay. So here, as the exponent of x is a negative integer, this is not a polynomial. All right. Again, another example when it is not a polynomial. Even if I have x cube plus x square plus say root x somehow, then this is also not a polynomial because here it is power of x has become a fraction, not a polynomial. The exponent of x is a fraction, so that's the reason it's not a polynomial. So not these are not polynomials. Okay. So now let's understand a few more things here. So what we call as algebraic expression as well. So let's talk about that and then we'll learn about terms and stuff as well. So expression. So algebraic expression when you have like when you are either adding, subtracting, dividing, or multiplying your algebraic terms like this, then you will call it an algebraic expression. So whatever we have add here, like x cube plus x square, this will be an algebraic expression. You will have x minus 2x square, that is also an algebraic expression. You will have 3x plus 5 divided by 5x square plus 6. This is also an algebraic expression, or 3x plus 5 into 2x plus 6. This is also an algebraic expression. Okay. Now, coming to the parts here about the polynomial. So, polynomial will have terms and basis their terms also. So, just like the degree, basis their terms as well, we categorize them. So, a polynomial containing one term is called a monomial. So, monomial is a polynomial which just contains one term. So, this is a polynomial. So, contains one term meaning this will be a polynomial which is x. This is a monomial. Px is equals to 100x square. This is also monomial. Px equals to 5. This is also monomial. Monomial meaning mono means one, nom means term, meaning one term. Monomial, one term in the polynomial will be called a monomial. Okay. Similarly, if you have bi means two, if you have got two terms in the polynomial, it will be called a binomial. So it will be something like x square plus 5 or 2x minus 6 or anything of that nature, wherein you will have two terms here. So this is what we are calling as the terms, right? So this is what we are calling the terms. This is what is called the first term. You can call this is the first term. This is what we call as the second term. This is what we call as the third term, and so on and so forth. Okay. So these are my terms here. Okay. Um, in this expression too, these are my terms, like as I'm mentioning now. So this is my first term. This is my nth term. This is my third term, and so on and so forth. So you just have to count from the first and then you keep counting, and that is what it is. So now, mm, this is binomial meaning two terms, trinomial meaning three terms, and same way it will keep on going. Quadrinomial meaning four terms, and so on and so forth. So trinomial meaning three terms. So I'm not going to write the uh, examples now. So the polynomial which only contains three terms will be called trinomial, and coefficient too. So what is a coefficient is basically the constant term which is multiplied to the polynomial is called the coefficient. So in this case, uh, so here when we were talking about a0, a1, a be the constant, they are as well called the coefficients. This is a constant, or we also call it as the coefficient of the coefficient as well. So this is called the coefficient a0, a1, a2, n. That if you've got an expression of this nature, 5x plus 3x square plus 7x cubed plus 10x square. Okay, 10x to the power 4. So here the coefficient of x is 5. So we will be saying that coefficient of x is 5. Here we'll be saying coefficient of x to the power 4 is 10. And coefficient of x cube is 7, and so on and so forth. So this is what is the meaning of coefficient. The constant term which is multiplied to the variable is also called coefficient. Okay.